and welcome to another episode of Deadlock Vents. We are here talking about the newest patch. We've had so many good patches recently. I'm joined, of course, by Connor.
Hello.
How are you doing today, Connor?
I'm doing pretty well. I mean, I'm enjoying the fact that there's been a patch. I feel it was much needed for a lot of characters, so it's been a refreshing change of pace for a couple of days.
Yeah, we recorded the last podcast just before the patch dropped, the previous patch.
Was it like a couple hours, or we released it, I think, literally on the day, didn't we? And then, and then it was like, whoops.
And then that night for us. Of course, we like sort of record these afternoon EU time. Patches sometimes come out in the middle of the night. The most recent patch came out on a Saturday, which is the craziest bit. And it has sort of changed, it's tweaked the numbers generally for the Spirit players. And we've sort of talked about this in times privately from time to time, like why Spirit versus Gun is sort of there, and especially obviously one of the big things about Spirits is they can hit multiple people, but now ability range has been reduced across the board on a lot of items.
It's interesting. I'm glad it's happening for some characters, but then it also feels really bad on others. And as we've been playing more and we're both trying to get better, I think both of us have watched more streams, and I've definitely seen a lot of streamers complain that we're in some, I've heard spirit slop. Essentially, people don't seem to like the idea that the abilities are what's dictating the game. They don't want a spirit meta, they want a bullet meta because they think bullet is more skillful, is the argument being made. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that personally. I think both components are really important because otherwise I'm playing a MOBA, otherwise I'm playing a shooter, right? I want both.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the big thing, right? We personally feel like there's less MOBA players in the high tier of Deadlock. You know, I don't know how many streamers, a lot of the streamers have come in, I think are from Overwatch, from my personal experience or knowledge. And so I think, you know, maybe that's where it's tuned in a little bit.
Off the top of my head, I can think of Shaw 4, but I'm struggling to think of other people right now. I get why they've done the ability changes. I don't like the change on Echo Shard. I'm really worried they're just going to start chipping away at the bits of Echo Shard, and then eventually it just becomes an ability that copies another ability, at which point you just buy Refresher, obviously. So it felt...
Well, it's a much shorter cooldown than Refresher, Connor.
It is a much shorter cooldown, but I think at the point in which you're doing that to that ability and you remove all the buffs, I think you just take Refresher. For most characters.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
You don't think so?
No. They do absolutely different things.
I think like Echo Shot for like Bebop, sure, that makes sense still. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm thinking of like, I've seen people take Echo Shards on Graves. I don't think it's correct, but I've seen people do it. At that point, I think you just do Refresher and you do the whole combo. I think I think a lot of characters out there, I think it is that case because one of the reasons sometimes I took Echo Shard to begin with was because it gave me ability range, and then I would be like, I'd cheap out on something else. Like I wouldn't have to take another ability range item. So it kind of felt a bit weird. I was playing a Geist build for a while where one of the reasons I dropped taking Cultist Sacrifice was because I was like, Echo Shard and Spirit Burn give me the ability range, and therefore I don't need to take Cultist Sacrifice. But now Cultist Sacrifice is back in my Spirit Geist build because I need the ability range. It just feels a little bit odd. I get like there's a lot of, I remember seeing a lot of shorts and things of people playing 7 and they're like, how big can I make the ball? And they just like getting every ability range item and it covers a whole lane. And I've seen that a few times, especially with the new item Ballistic Enchantment. And I can understand why you wouldn't want that playstyle because it sucks not having somewhere to stand. Like it's absolutely awful.
I think especially as like Deadlock is so movement based, as soon as like those things are coming so big that even when you do a lot of your movement tech or abilities, you're still in the range of that Geist Bomb, that Doorman Bell, or the 7 ball. It feels really bad and really punishing. And I suppose it's fine to punish like bad stamina management, but it was just on the other side of it where it was punishing you no matter what.
Can you think of any characters that it's going to negatively impact how fun they are to play?
How fun they are to play?
Oh, well, for example, I was playing for a little while an Echo Shard Vindicta stake build. I'd stake Echo Shard, I'd alchemic fire, I would stake again. and I would like burst someone down and shoot them the whole time. I found that build is harder to play with these ability range changes because I was taking a lot of these items. And I've found that it's actually impacted it. Greater Expansion and Ballistic Enchantment were like pretty much auto builds before. And just the 15% extra reduction feels like a lot when trying to land a lot of these abilities. And also Echo Shard obviously was giving it as well. So it's 20% reduction.
Yeah.
Which
and
feels
I can't
worse.
remember if it is additive or it might be multiplicative. I'm not actually sure.
I'm not sure either. It's quite bad that we
I
don't
think
know.
Obviously, it's we're the amateur Deadlock podcast. So we're not.
You come here for not correct information to sort of have an idea of what's going on.
The Deadlock meta is Spirit Slop. We are podcast slop. So there we go. I do think that, like, obviously, it's making it so that you have to be better, right? You know, there's less margin of error, and I think that's a good thing in a way of sort of, you know, narrowing down the skill level for some of these things. Obviously, like people like Bebop probably do miss a little bit of those range increases. It is very hard to think of someone who absolutely is being gutted by these because it's just small changes everywhere. Like having ability range is nice. I think when I used to play Apollo a lot, it definitely, you know, having greater expansion on your ulti, suddenly you do feel like you can hit a much wider arc. And I think that's something that's quite nice. You know, you want to be using it as an area denial. And maybe people like Dynamo won't be catching so many people in their ulti. You know, that's going to be a big thing there. But they just have to be a little bit more defined.
I wonder if this change is because of Ivy. I am a little bit curious because you are seeing Echo Shard, Ivy, also, and then she does the whole combo, right? And then she just does an absolutely massive combo in a very small, well, it's actually a large area, but you know, everyone's hit inside it, and you've got Vortex Web, Spirit Burn, Echo Shard, all happening, and Greater Expansion. I think the build takes in this Spirit Echo Shard build that I've seen people take, and then you just get one shot, and there's nothing you can do about it. I do wonder if this has been done to counter that, because she actually, in fact, also takes Healing Nova, which is also in this build, which explains why every time I ever get hit by one of those stone forms, I'm like, I'm miles away. What on earth's going on?
It has happened a lot. I do think it's one of the few things that don't have like little tweaking knobs. I think for Spirit generally, obviously we did have Spirit scaling change in this, but a lot of abilities, they have a level of Spirit scaling to them. Like obviously Yamato has higher Spirit scaling if they level up their ability to the top level. Grey Talon as well. All these things are like, better Spirit scaling, but there's no growth scaling. The growth scaling is the base level of the ability. And even if you gatekeep that size, a big size of, say, the Kudso bomb from Ivy behind a tier 3 investment, she's probably still going to go for that tier 3 investment. It's very powerful right now. And then any sort of percentage increase on ability range is going to go through. But I genuinely do think it's fine.
I think it's fine too. I am interested in the Spirit investment scaling change. This one does fascinate me because if you are completely dedicated into Spirit, you still have the same strength at the top of the tier, but you're now punished for that middle ground, which is a little bit odd because it essentially punishes hybrids, I suppose, which I guess is aimed at Geist. It's primarily the character, and I guess Wraith, and maybe Infernus. I'm not so sure about Infernus, but it feels like an odd change, and it also punishes people like Apollo, for example, because Apollo takes a lot of greens.
Well, I think it is that sort of mid game, right? Because, you know, the people like Calico and Apollo who can do some great damage in that as soon as they get that 4.8k spike, you know, they still have the exact same Spirit investment there, and they can go around wrecking the map there. And it's just that little bit after that where they have to either keep the snowball going as much as they can, or they'll drop off because, as you say, you know, they're then after that losing significantly a big amount of Spirit.
The plan, as far as I can see from their vision, is they've given everyone more health. They've made everything percentage based again, so everyone's a bit tankier, so you don't get burst down.
Then the tanky people are tankier.
The tanky people are tankier. This is true. I think it's also made Colossus a better item, but we can come to that back to that later. They've then nerfed the Spirit investment. They've then buffed a bunch of Spirit resist on items, although nerfed it on Blood Tribute, which is a bit weird. but they buffed it on Enchanter's Emblem, which I have taken and won a game with because of the difference. I weirdly think it is actually more than it looks, just 3%. Restorative Locket, which is a really odd item to begin with, and
it's so odd.
I don't think it's very good, honestly.
If Restorative Locket is ever meta, something's gone a bit weird, I think, generally, because you're going to need a support hero who's very much in the midst of things. And I think, we're going to talk maybe about Mirage later, but there's some builds out there that are saying, oh, Mirage is this tanky support character, and maybe he could do that because he can go into the fight, use his abilities, and get out a little bit, especially with having 2 Dust Devils, as they're now called. But being able to be close enough to get the charges and then also use them either on yourself or other people, it's really tricky.
It might be a sign that they're trying to make Mirage into a tank. I hadn't really thought about it. I've definitely already lost a game to how much tankier he is now than before. And he doesn't even really do any threatening damage. He just kind of takes health from you and lives forever, which is very frustrating.
So I've played 1 game of Mirage since the patch.
Okay.
But I genuinely found him to be still very effective as someone who can teleport into a 1v1 to make that 1v1 much better. And, he definitely has this short burst of I can help out this person. He can no longer do the sort of thing of late game, just sitting back and essentially helping win team fights. And that sort of sucks. I'm not sure if it's because my team positioning was a bit crazy. Maybe my positioning was a bit odd. But he has to be this ganker person. And I think I like that Traveler's cooldown is getting lower and is sort of more flexible, because late game I could just use it whenever, and that's perfect because that's how I want the ability to be. I want him to have that sort of power level. And mid game I didn't use it as much as I'd like because I was still adjusting, but I suddenly felt like, I should be, almost popping it on cooldown, really helping out, trying to go around. So I think that's nice, but yeah, him not being a big late game carry is a little bit scary. You suddenly think, how is our team going to have damage? It's probably not going to be me.
I think they need to be really careful about putting damage on global characters.
Mm-hmm.
We come from HOTS, where, as far as I know, it is the most global MOBA. I'm pretty sure it is. Essentially, there are a handful of characters who completely dominated the game for a very long time. For those who don't know, but there's one that goes into bushes, so like little vents. There'll be the veils in Deadlock. One teleports to characters. One just has a free float. There are others. I'm not going to go through all of them, but there was a meta completely defined by these characters where basically all the team was doing is they would just have everyone teleport to one spot and gank someone and kill them. And I am a little bit nervous about the fact that you're slowly being able to assemble this incredibly mobile team of Mirage, Ivy, Calico, Celeste, maybe Mo and Krill, and it doesn't even sound like that bad of a draft. Like, you'd need some sort of damage with mobility, and I don't think we quite have that character yet, but I would be worried if they would buff to Mirage, because then he fits in that slot, and I can't imagine what kind of macro you can do, because the game is so big. It's considerably bigger than most other maps. There's tiers and layers to it, which adds like a vertical depth, and I can imagine how frustrating it would be to just suddenly have 6 people standing on top of you and killing you, and that just happening all game.
It genuinely does happen without the globals in Deadlock. If you're against a team who have good movement and good communication, you get jumped. You get jumped by at least 3 or 4 members. If you're in a 1v1 and you don't know where the enemy are, they're coming out the woodworks.
I think I'm thinking of a much different scale. I'm thinking, for example, what's it called? Traveler? Is that his ult?
Yes. Yeah.
Traveler has a 40-second cooldown now at max level. I wonder if you just go that first, and all you do is you Dust Devil CC so that you can support other people to get picks. And I wonder if that's the way you play him now. And you just teleport and you do CC and you go to a damage dealer and they do something like can you teleport into like an invisible haze?
Well, he can teleport onto allies, yeah.
So you could have Haze run somewhere invisible, and he could just teleport to them. You get a pick using Dust Devil as the CC, so Haze can just sit and shoot someone, and then you run away, and then he teleports to another problematic character. I think it's going to be an interesting period. I'm looking forward to seeing what it's like. I don't think he's actually impactful enough at the moment, so I'm hoping that this stays this way. for it to be a problem. But I could see that being on the periphery. You know, if a lot of these top characters continue to get nerfed, or for example, if they continue to scale health, you know, going back to the trying to end the spirit meta and say they try and make it into a gun meta, he becomes a lot better because his time to kill is so much longer than everyone else's, because obviously he's about stacking damage and that sort of thing. So if the results of this spirit scaling nerf and the spirit items nerf, like I think Boundless also had its spirit reduced, and all these items are having spirit increase, and gun items like burst fire are being buffed with their time to kill, and metal skins having its bullet resist reduced, you know, all this attempt to increase the time to kill. I could see Mirage suddenly just like coming out of nowhere and being very good. He seems a lot better. We were joking in the previous patch, the one before, where it was Saturday, we were saying, oh, wow, we've lost the game because we got Mirage, right? Because he just did nothing after that weird patch that he did on the 6th. It was like, oh, we just don't have a character on our team. He doesn't do any damage. He might just catch someone unawares who doesn't have Dispel Magic, but otherwise he kind of just, you know, didn't really do a lot. Speaking of other characters that I don't really feel like they do a lot at the moment, how do you feel about Dorman?
So yeah, Dorman sort of became this ulti person. Everyone sort of, I saw a thread on Reddit saying Dorman was this high skill hero that, you know, someone had to put all their brain power in to be effective, and now he's just an ult bot. And, you know, still his ult is very much effective at what it does. I think it's a good thing, and people are annoyed that Call Bell, I think Call Bell is the most annoying part. There was a time when he first released, the Call Bell came out. I think it was the sort of, they buffed it shortly after his release, and it sort of did nukes. It was doing, again, nukes recently, and that early game fighting into Call Bell can be so hard. I'm so glad that they've sort of shuffled around some of his abilities, and tier 1 is now additional charge but not radius. Yeah, there's some good changes here going for Doorbell, but Doorman even, not Doorbell. So yeah, I think he should be a niche character. He should always be a niche character, right? But it's making sure that he's not a liability, I suppose, at the same time.
The change that interests me a little bit more was I was starting to see people using the doorway to rotate as a team because the range is so much better than it was before.
Mm-hmm.
I was also seeing a considerable more amount of cheese as a result of putting a door somewhere and you'd send the whole team through. I think we saw the most of that with this patch that I think we've ever seen. There were a lot of times where we tried to end in base, and I remember the whole team getting sent through a door.
Yeah.
Or the boss, like I think it reached from boss to spawn or something like that, which is also a bit crazy. I wonder, and I don't think this is going to be very popular, I wonder if the correct way to do Doorman is you can't put doors in spawn, but something happens when you do a door across the map, like you get movement speed for the team, or you get stamina back, or something like that, to turn him away from being this like one-shot bursty character that punishes out of position people and turns him instead to being like another global rotator or something like that. What do you think about that being more his playstyle?
I don't know. I mean, he's supposed to be a disruptor. He's supposed to be a peeler. I guess like the point is that what is his risk, right? Because the whole point is, yeah, he's supposed to be someone who's very defensive. That's mainly what his abilities are about: pushing people away, locking someone away. Those are supposed to be used defensively, but they get used offensively instead. And what's the punishment for that? The punishment should be, he's used his defensive cooldowns offensively, so we can now leap on him. But instead, we've got this doorman thing. And it might be that, you know, maybe closing the door gets a little bit of a additional cool, like there's a little bit of a time where you could maybe slip through, you know, so the doorman can't just instantly close it behind him. I don't know. Maybe that's a thought. Like a little bit of leftover. Maybe the doorman has to time it so that he's ready to get through. That could be interesting to see, because I think those are the most frustrating things, where you get put underneath a walker. Obviously, the doorman's feeling great. They're feeling like they've done an amazing play, but you know, you had a point and click. You had a point and click ulti on you, and then you come back and you get pushed in.
Yeah, it feels awful. It's one of the worst feelings, I think, in Deadlock.
And I think nothing's going to change for that player, but I just think there should be more ability for your team to come and punish the doorman, basically. I think that's the thing. And maybe it does happen, obviously, at the pro level. And maybe that's why, that we don't see doorman too much in night shift or whatever. But in the majority of games, that doorman is never getting punished.
Who do you think are the biggest winners and losers of the patch?
I think... So you've said that Graves is currently super oppressive.
I think Graves is broken good. I think they've made a really big mistake.
I mean, you obviously played Graves with the training weights on, and then we came back and you played a game of Graves with the new buff, and then you basically 2v1'd the lane while I went and farmed everywhere.
She just seems unbelievably good. I wonder if she's currently the best character we're talking in just regular games. We're not talking about in high level. We're just talking about Muppets playing. I think it's between her and Hayes. I think they do different things and they're strong in different ways. I don't know the interaction between Graves's ghouls and Hayes's ult. Do you know that off the top of your head? Does Hayes prioritize heroes? Or does she just hit anything and raise?
I'm pretty sure she does prioritize heroes, but
if not, otherwise, like Graves is a very good counter to Hayes because obviously she gets ghouls. If not, then it doesn't matter. It feels very strong. I've even played like a numpty in games, and I've been managing to turn it around because she's so good late game. The change to the ghouls on the stun is really interesting in a proper game. I tried it in a brawl and I was like, this doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to play. I had Echo Shard on it. I was like, this change is inconsequential. Played a proper game with it for the first time, and I was like, oh, this is insane. Refresher is now considerably better as an item on her because you just double skull, double root, double. Yeah. Oh, and you suddenly have 8 ghouls right from the beginning, and then also you have 2 stacks of skulls, so you can just one-shot people like super easily. Insane amount of burst, like unbelievable amount of burst. She's so good at clearing camps. She's so good at taking 1v1s. Her weakness is mobility, obviously, but
and obviously the importance of like Refresher is being able to contest the boss pit half the time, and having 8 ghouls in the boss pit is still going to be super good.
So I biggest winner for me of the patch. I think the change to Abrams was fun. I don't know how good it is. I've got no idea. But the melee damage scaling, he has additional melee damage scaling. Great, like taste flavor win for me, even if it's not that good.
I think I was reading somewhere that he used to have something like that, and then they removed it from him. And now,
oh, really? Because it was too good.
And so now they've given it back a little bit. But yeah, obviously we're seeing this little flavor coming through here. Obviously Celeste with the gravity. Other people have got sort of similar things. Ivy a little bit. Obviously she's got the ability to fire a gun without stopping, or if she maxes her too. But then, Mina flying with the umbrella, they buffed that. But the other person who's probably one of the biggest losers or the biggest changes in this is Victor, who
oh my god, I'm so happy.
The lifesteal effectiveness. Well, we've yet to see if it's actually super effective. We'll wait and see. It should be, in theory.
In my games previously, what I would do if I had a Victor on my team is I knew exactly how to play. And all I had to do was run around for 25 minutes, keep us even with the enemy team, and we would win because the Victor would get farmed. That doesn't work anymore because Victor now in the late game doesn't just automatically win. You actually have to play correctly. So you can't just like go and feed or trade or anything like that. You actually have to care about the state of the game. I think it's a good change in terms of it's not an auto win anymore, and I think it makes him a harder character and more skillful to play because his battery heals in percentage-wise, and he's got more health, which was what you pointed out to me. I do really think this is just a symptom that he needs a rework. What do you feel about it?
Well, I think, this sort of is the start of that, isn't it? I think, as I sort of said to you initially after you pointed out, oh, Victor might be dead now. It's like, I think this is just the start of unleashing his builds, because he basically had one build path where he had to beeline infuser, stack a load of spirit, then maybe go Ethereal Shift if he was getting some sort of trouble. If he wasn't getting any sort of trouble, he was winning the game already. And I think now, finally, we're getting to the point of, okay, he wants to focus on using his abilities, his own abilities, to self-heal. And maybe we'll see some tweaks there. He'll get a bit more healing off his 1 or maybe his 2. Obviously, he's got more HP. 50 HP per boon is absolutely huge in Deadlock. I'm trying to think, he might outscale Lady Geist now. I think she's 49, yeah. I think she was, off the top of my head. And obviously percentage now based on the boons, so he can go into the greens a bit more. But yeah, as I say, he might be looking to go a bit more into the sort of cooldowns, trying to balance that. And I think that's a good thing. It's not just Beeline Infuser. That's the best thing. Does he need some more work on him? Most likely, because yeah, he'll have a few bits to go. But shocking reanimation, having a longer cooldown early on. Obviously, it's very much the same later. But that's going to be a good thing. He's going to be in timeout for 4 minutes. 4 minute cooldown.
4 minute
essentially
cooldown
on reanimation.
And it's still a 3 minute cooldown, even if you have Transcendent. So maybe it's a. I wonder if you do just take Enchanter's Emblem just to get that extra little bit of cooldown reduction.
Yeah. And if anyone goes to tier 3, I don't know. You've got that. They removed the radius change on it, which I think is
it's baseline
they just put that
now.
Baseline. Yeah.
So his Aero Denial, which was one of my biggest problems with him, is now baseline. But all the range is nerfed in general, which is good. All the ability range items.
The issue with his radius increase was that you could take it while dead and the graphic wouldn't show. So
I didn't know that. Okay.
While it was casting, and so people could stand on the edge and then get hit by it still. So it's just sort of removing that down, which is nice. I don't think the damage is much to worry about because not many people stand in it.
I mean, he's still sitting at a pretty healthy win rate. So he's at 54%. I will weep for the Victor mains.
Hopefully that gets updated in the coming week.
Yeah,
going down.
I think, 54% at Eterna, so he's still fine. It's an odd change to me as well because obviously they nerfed spirit scaling, which is a nerf to him. They've increased spirit resist on a couple items. They reduced the bullet resist on metal skin, which is one of the items he pretty much always took. And yet he's still got a very healthy win rate. So I am curious to what happens with him in the long run.
Someone that I was excited to play, actually, and I haven't yet, is Shiv, because they obviously took away Shiv's stamina. They've now given it back, but they've given it a higher cooldown, so he's sort of on the same sort of tier as Kelvin with a longer stamina. So it means that he can burst around still, but then he's out of the fight for a bit longer. And I've yet to try this new Killing Blow, which is obviously not a point and click anymore. It is a targeted ability, I guess that's how you call it. But now it can go through and hit multiple people as long as it doesn't kill them, which I think is a cool change.
I really like that change, actually. I really like everything they did with Shiv in this patch because healing modifiers impacting bloodletting is fantastic, both negatively and positively. I imagine you do probably run healing tempo now, I imagine. And also as well, anti-healing, working on that in the same way is pretty good. The stamina increase, I imagine pros are going to feast off that and Shiv is going to dominate pro play for a little while. But for us in pleb level, I don't think it changes that much.
I think
the Killing Blow change is lovely. It's such a good change.
It helps out the plebs who can't use the shotgun as effectively to move around. I think that's the main thing there.
Yeah, for sure.
At the top level, it's not going to do too much, maybe, because they were already using it. But yeah, for us plebs, it just gives a bit more, especially in the early game, right? Because a lot of people might have been going into stamina mastery sometimes. I don't know.
I just want to point out to people who watch this, we will later release a short with the Always Sunny music. No, it's Curb Your Enthusiasm, isn't it? The Curb Your Enthusiasm music when we're wrong about Night Shift this week, and then Shiv has just dominated it. I'm reasonably happy about this patch. I was a bit confused that they buffed Celeste. We both commented on this because they gave her gun fall off, which was very much needed. It was awful to play into. But then they decided to buff pretty much every other stat, as far as I can tell.
Well, she's a little more vulnerable to gun bullet damage.
But do you care when you're in awkward places to always be shot?
Probably not. But it's good because she's very rarely getting hit by spirit abilities because she's flying in the sky. So it's probably the best thing to do. But yeah, there's a lot of things there going a little bit weird. Obviously, Shining Wonder's range reduced by 1 meter. Maybe it helps. 2 less bounces? Maybe it helps. It still feels absolutely terrible. They just need to make the time that it sits on someone a little less, right? That's surely
I think
one of the best things.
Yeah.
Someone who's come back a little bit for me is Silver. I feel like those tweaks have now put her into a sort of a playable state. She still definitely can get punished, and I think that's great. But I think now she feels like she's sitting in a good space where she's not super
I don't
punished.
feel bad anymore when she dives on me. Like, it feels good. She feels like a good, fair character to play into, which is always where I want characters to be, right? Like, I want a character to be fun to play, and also I don't feel like crap when I play into them, and she feels so good in that area right now. She's not Victor or Mo and Krill or Wraith, or we're coming to hate Wraith, I think, a little bit, the both of us.
I'm rereading the Wraith changes now, and they feel like they've done some good stuff there, obviously. And so I haven't felt too bad playing into a Wraith recently, but I still do definitely think that she is absolutely pain to play into.
The more and more I play into her, the more I wonder what on earth they were doing with the cards. Because, and this isn't to say it's not good design, right? It's clearly fantastic game design, and I think it's really cool flavor. I think it's like fantastic flavor. I think good job doing it in that way. The problem that I've got is what they've selected as the bonuses for each card. And I'm not even one of these people who minds the Joker so much, because there are people who are like, oh my God, I can't believe they put the Joker in. The one that I actually think is crazy, and I have the biggest problem with, is the heal card trick. Because it essentially puts her in a soul lead on any lane that she's in. Because she has an extra 75 healing baseline on every other character in lane on an ability that has not really a cooldown that she can infinitely get. So I genuinely have an issue with the heal, at least for the laning phase. I don't know what her laning win rate is, and before I go on this rant, I probably should have checked. She's slap bang in the middle, but yeah, it feels awful to play into. And this might just be I suck, but I love trading, and I like doing it that way, and I like building restorative items and using that as a leverage, and it just feels like crap when I go and have a duel with a Wraith and then she's got 3 heart cards and I'm just like, oh yeah, like, just luck
is crap. You need to burst a lot more HP down.
Yeah. And it's such a small thing to not like. The ult, I think, is also awful to play into.
I'm so glad
I really
they
miss
reduced...
not counterspelling it.
Yeah, the debuff duration is nice. Just reducing that by 0.5 seconds. It's starting to get a bit more manageable. So there's still hope out there. We'll have to see how she pans out.
Should we do our roses?
The roses.
The roses. Is it our flowers? What's the term? It's the flowers, right? And then it's roses, thorns, and buds. I think.
Yes, yeah, roses, thorns, and buds. So the rose things we'd like about the patch. And I think for me, it's got to be this Victor change. It's got to be the Victor change.
I think it's sweet. Oh, we didn't talk about my favorite change. I'll do my rose as my favorite change. They added my dumb I'm an idiot button or thing for the egg. The egg. Which is it now has to channel to use. Oh my God, I'm not using my egg randomly in combat anymore. Thank you, Valve, for the change. It was so needed.
So it's good for you.
I'm so happy.
And also stops those people from just buying it, popping it in the middle of the team fight to just randomly get buffs and then rebuying it. So
I am curious. I am curious I don't know how they track the stat, but I am curious to how often they if they've got like a little graph in their like servers where they're like, oh, look at the amount of eggs that were almost used and then they were cancelled. I would be curious to whether they have that number.
What to say?
And your rose is just Victor being decimated, which I think were our 2 biggest complaints on the last podcast. I'm so glad he's gone. It feels so much better to play games. Haze feels like a problem, but other than that, I'm not anxious going into a game anymore. We're not going, oh yeah, we need to we need to just win the next 20 minutes, otherwise we've lost kind of thing. It feels a lot fairer now. What is your bud? Or is it your thorn first?
Let's do buds first. Buds first. Bud is definitely still. I'm still excited for potentially camp changes. Camp changes got to be soon. Got to be soon. Feed them to me, Yoshi. That's what I want. Let's see.
I think for me, I'm excited for new items. I was talking to our friend. We have a friend called Craft. We were talking about like there's quite a few spaces still available for items, and the egg really like showcased that. And I think the legendary items that exist currently in the Brawl are all really fascinating. And there's actually a couple of them that I actually think if you scaled them differently or changed some of the numbers, they'd be good enough to play. Like not broken, but they would be good enough to play in the regular game. And one of them was the cloak of sliding thing. It does damage if you're next to someone. It gives you extra sliding distance. It'd be a nice alternative item for certain characters in a way, but don't make it do crazy damage like it does in the legendary effect. I think baseline it's like 150 or something absolutely bonkers. Make it like 15. I don't know, but it'd be an interesting change. I think like it would make Viper more interesting to build or something like that. So I think there's quite a lot of space just at the moment for items in general. And I really would like a couple more, I think.
See what they cook up. Especially obviously as these spirit changes may have changed something a little bit around that. I don't know. And obviously restorative locket, maybe we'll see something that's a bit more pizzazzy, like a tier 6 tier 4 restorative locket opportunity. That could be nice to see.
I feel it's a real shame that they don't have more combined items. You know, like I would like Super Shield, where I have to get Spirit Shield and whatever the CC one is, and the weapon
Reactive
shielding,
barrier.
and then Reactive Barrier, and they all become like Super Shield. And it's just one cooldown, right? But if, you know, any of those things happen to you, you just get a shield, which would be like interesting. I don't think there's an item that uses 3 items to combine into it. A lot of people have wanted Mystic Shot and Resto Shot to become an item, and I think that's quite an easy one to put into a single item. I think there's things that they could be doing, and I would much like as a fan of the game, like we love this game. I would love them to just start putting items in, and even if they take them away and they're like, yeah, we made a mistake. We're going to get rid of this. What was that item when we first started playing that if you shot a soul orb, it gave you ammo back?
Oh, I can't
remember the name of it, but everyone played it, right? That was an item that everyone had, and there was also another item where it was a guaranteed revive. It was the rejuve, basically. And everyone played that as well. So obviously, I'm wondering, maybe they've gone, the Resto Shot, Mystic Shot, everyone just plays it, so it's not a good shout, and that's probably why they've not added it. But I would like to play with it, right? I would like to have you know, even if it's only 2 weeks, just 2 weeks to have a look at an item like that or see something like that. And I think, just you know, play around with it. You're so good at just playing around with stuff. But I'm saying this as a guy who just sits down and plays the game, and they're probably listening to this going, fuck it out. Do they not know how much work goes into this? Having to come up with animations, and it's not just like putting in numbers. So I don't know. But hopeful. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
And should we say do our thorns?
Yeah, I think for me, the thorns, I just want the game to run a tiny bit better on my PC at the moment. I think that
it's really not optimized at the moment at all.
So like I'm trying to record some of the shorts and gameplay stuff for it, and I know this is a bit of a unique issue, but you know, when I have to then put the settings down so they don't look as good, it just makes me sad on the inside. How about you?
Yeah, it is an issue, but I don't think it's my thorn. I think my thorn is about matchmaking at the moment.
It's a lot of people's, right?
It's some games. I will say, actually, at the moment, some of my games of Deadlock are my best games of Deadlock I've ever had. And I don't just mean that as like I'm playing really well. The people on my team are wonderful to play with. And they talk, and we're coordinated, and it's fantastic, and I love it. Mm-hmm. And then I get games where I have 5 Wallies, right? I just have 5 slobbering morons. Well, 6 if you include myself. But like, it's just a team of like, we're all like regurgitated meat that somehow has become sentient and is trying to play a game. Like, we all just suck. And I don't understand why there is such a variance. It's not like I'm changing rank, right? I'm not going up or down.
No.
These are games that I'm playing solo as well. So it's not even like I have friends changing my MMR. I just suddenly have the perfect game into the worst game possible. And I don't see how that should be possible at any rank, really.
Yeah, I wonder if it's not a rank thing, but it's actually a snowball thing. And maybe the game is just slightly too snowbally that if someone gets that early lead, it's just giving them a bit too much to then make the rest of the game feel like hell. I'm not sure if that's true or not. It doesn't sort of feel true in my own personal opinion, but yeah.
We do play some games together sometimes where we suddenly look up and we go, oh my God, how did they get to 38k? Like, what happened in the last, 3-4 minutes? Because we all have tried to do a gank on them or something and they'll have lived and they'll be fine. And then suddenly it's 38k. There might be egg shenanigans going on that we're not paying attention to or something like that. But it happens in 2 out of 10 games, so 20% of the time. It feels a bit strange. And it sometimes all it takes is a solo kill, like one solo kill on your soul leader, and they get 4K, and it's like, what was going on?
I got 2K earlier just from a solo kill, and I was like, oh, this is great. But then I was just like, oh, this just seems crazy to get that.
Because that's a boon as well. Because a boon is 1.5, right? So you're getting a boon and 2K, and it's just... And I don't know how you balance that. I don't know what the answer to that is. There's that classic saying of the players always know what the problems are, but have no idea how to fix it. So I'm not going to suggest anything because I don't know. But it feels really bad sometimes.
And maybe those solo kills should be good for comebacks, but should be heavily more neutered for the people ahead. I don't know, but there's definitely a sort of a whole thing about economy and sharing economy around the game, and maybe that could be improved. Who knows? Because it is when you, even if you're ahead and you've got that one person who's very far ahead, it can sometimes feel bad when they're not in a team fight and you suddenly feel like we should still be able to win, but actually compared to the enemy team we are completely behind compared to our person in the lead.
The numbers don't feel right. Like, I know that's a non-sentence and it doesn't mean anything, but someone at 50k is not 20% stronger than someone at 40k. And I don't know, or I guess it would be 25%. They're not 25% stronger. They feel 80% stronger or 90% stronger.
Yeah.
And I can't explain why that is, because the numbers shouldn't add up that way and it shouldn't make any difference. But it really feels that way.
And I guess part of it is like buying counter items or whatever, but that still always feels bad. And, part of it, we spoke last time about, support players needing to buy them. And sometimes if you're a DPS and if you're the sole leader, you really feel bad if you have to buy the knockdown or whatever. But sometimes you have to do it and that does feel bad. So maybe that's the issue. Well, that is all we have time for today on this episode of Deadlock Vents. Leave your comments below of whether you agree or not. We hope to see you again soon. But for now, goodbye.
Goodbye,
Bye.
everyone. Farewell.